After being relentlessly pressured by my family to get married, I finally cracked and posted on a matchmaking platform. Anyone want to get married? I'll take any beta. I'm tall, rich, and handsome. My track record speaks for itself. Not even a second later, my phone pinged with a private message. Delete the post. Meet me in front of the marriage registration office. Attached was a photo, so outrageously handsome it looked like it had been edited by a god. I typed back, "What?" He replied, "You said you wanted to get married. Coincidentally, I have a damaged gland and no pheromones. I fit your criteria." On our wedding night, he peeled off the patch covering his gland, and the sheer intensity of the scent that hit me made it impossible to breathe. Eyes wide, I gasped, "I thought you were a beta?" His tone was perfectly calm. "My gland was damaged the day I married you. I never said I was a beta." Welcome to He History Channel. Subscribe to follow all our latest adventures. Story begins. Lucas Alexander, you're not getting any younger. If you keep dragging your feet, your younger brother's kid might end up being your best man. Lucas, if you're not married by the end of this year, don't bother coming home. You're a top-tier alpha. Your camellia-scented pheromones might lean a little omega-ish, but they're not unpleasant. Why can't you just find an omega already? A beta would do too. No pheromone compatibility needed. Stop being so picky. The relentless barrage of nagging messages in our family group chat practically burned holes in my eyes. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Back in school, they told me to focus on academics. When I started working, they told me to focus on my career. Now that I've finally stabilized, they're desperate to throw me into marriage. Frustrated but resigned, I posted a blunt message on a matchmaking platform. Anyone want to get married? I'll take any beta. I'm tall, rich, and good-looking. A high-ranking exec at a listed company. Track record available upon request. Why not an omega? Because I didn't want to deal with pheromone-induced chaos. I was determined to be a rational, clear-headed alpha. A message popped up the second I hit post. Meet me at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Just that. Plain and direct. Plus a picture of someone so handsome he practically radiated red flags. I blinked. That fast? Was he just lurking there, waiting? He replied, "Didn't you say you wanted to get married? Funny coincidence, I've got damaged glands and no pheromones. Morally sound, graduated from a top school, currently employed at GM Corporation." Tim? Wasn't that the company that had just become our biggest competitor? What was the name of that newly appointed heir again? I really couldn't recall. But marrying one of GM's top execs? I could squeeze some insider info out of him. Without hesitation, I grabbed my documents and left. With that face and that job, I could overlook every other requirement. We walked out of the registry office with our marriage certificates. He slipped both copies into his pocket. To prevent you from faking a marriage and ghosting, I'll be holding on to these. He was about the same height as me and didn't give off any alpha vibes. I felt like I'd scored a great deal. I nodded. Sure, you keep them. As a wedding gift, I'll give you an apartment. Just send me your number, I'll text you the address. Right after I sent the address, a limited edition luxury car rolled up to my building. A car that exclusive and a license plate ending in a single-digit 7? This guy clearly had status. A beta could reach this level? Impressive. I've got a business trip, he said. I'll be gone for 2 or 3 months. I'll come find you when I'm back. The car door opened. A man in a crisp suit stepped out and bowed to us both. Before I could react, he was gone. 3 months passed in a blink. Honestly, I couldn't even remember what my legal spouse looked like anymore. Just one impression, he was stunning. Lucas Alexander, has your wife come back yet? When are you bringing her home for your father to meet? The family group chat wouldn't stop pestering me. Problem was, I didn't even know his full name. Soon. I replied casually. That's when a message popped up. I'm back. At your apartment. Come home soon. I smiled. On my way. I thought I'd walk through the door to find my gorgeous beta waiting. Instead, the moment I stepped inside, the world turned upside down. A sharp, dominant pine scent slammed into me like a tidal wave. Every cell in my body bristled. My pheromones surged in instinctive defense. "There you are, my alpha," he drawled from the sofa, legs crossed. "You look even better than I remembered." He wore a white suit, his face so perfect it hurt to look at. Deep-set eyes, a faint smile, calm as ever. I narrowed my eyes, scalp tingling. "You're not a beta? What the hell are you?" He touched his gland with lazy fingers. "The day we got married, my pheromones were gone. My gland was damaged. No pheromones equals beta, in my book." He said it like it was a logical, perfectly valid conclusion. My face flushed with rage. "Are you insane? That's not how this works. This is marriage fraud." He raised an eyebrow, tone completely innocent. "First, you never specified anything beyond that day. Second, I never said I was a beta." He undid a few buttons on his jacket, revealing the collarbone beneath. "Missed out on our wedding night. Let's make up for it. You can top if you want. My glands healed, I'm ready for you." I glared. "The hell I am." His smile deepened. "1, I don't have a hell. 2, you didn't marry me, so I owe him nothing." He tapped the marriage certificate on the table. 3, you're in no position to negotiate anymore, my alpha. 3 months apart, I missed you dearly. I'm starving. How about we start with dinner? Herbert Wright. Your husband's name, he said, voice low, fingers busy unbuttoning one piece of clothing after another. I started to panic. I tried to reason with him. Alphas can't be with alphas. Our pheromones don't sync. 2 alphas together meant mutual pheromone rejection, painful and dangerous. You hate the way I smell? He asked quietly. But not awful. His scent was strange. At first it overwhelmed me. But now I found it oddly pleasant. Herbert Wright was halfway undressed now, revealing a body that could rival a runway model's. If you don't hate it, that means you like it. If you like it, that means you can accept it. If you can accept it, that means we can be together. And if we can be together, then it's not a problem. Somehow, that absurd logic left me speechless. I'm done undressing. Your turn. Want help? His tone was as casual as asking for a glass of water. I spun around. I'm not staying married to another alpha. Divorce papers coming tomorrow. So what if this was my first and only marriage? Let it be a lesson. We'll call it even. If my family finds out I married an alpha, I'd lose my inheritance on the spot. My career, my relationship, gone. I thought you wanted insider reports on GM's business strategy, he said, just as I reached the door. I froze. Access to GM's financial data could launch my career to the next level. You sure you don't want to give this a shot? He said. Opportunities like this don't come around twice. I hesitated for 3 seconds, then turned around and started undressing. Fine. You've convinced me. Let's try. Just make sure your technique's good. If it's not, I'll divorce him anyway. If it is, I'll get the intel first. Then divorce. You bastard. You beast. Your enigma. His pheromones hit me like a tidal wave. No alpha could endure that. By the time I realized he'd fully formed a mating gland, it was too late. The sound of panting filled my ears, drowning out coherent thought. I never said I was an alpha, he whispered as his teeth grazed my neck, like a panther teasing prey. I grabbed a pillow and started smacking him with it. It didn't work. I lost. Turns out, Herbert Wright may be a monster, but he's a skilled one. I didn't get out of bed for 3 days. I forgot to eat, forgot to drink. Lucas Alexander. Open the damn door. Where the hell have you been messing around? My parents' voices echoed from somewhere far away. I thought I was dreaming. Rolling over, I curled up against a warm body, rubbing my face into his chest, then froze. My neck throbbed. My legs, don't even ask. So noisy. That hoarse murmur snapped me fully awake. Lucas Alexander. Open up now or we're calling a locksmith. The pounding at the door felt like it was hammering directly into my skull. I hastily threw a shirt at Herbert Wright. 3 seconds. Get dressed. 3 seconds? I'm not even... He was still talking when a pair of pants landed right over his head. By the time I opened the door, my parents were standing there, smiling way too brightly. "So, where's your wife?" I faltered, unsure how to explain. But right then, Herbert walked out looking like some innocent college kid. His hair was a little messy, his demeanor shy. He even gave a polite bow. "Mom, Dad," he greeted softly. Maybe from nerves, or maybe not. He released a small wave of pheromones. The pressure in the air shifted. Everyone felt it. My dad gave me a long look. "He's not an omega? So no grandkids for me?" Herbert's expression remained serene. "Dad, I'm an enigma. You'll get grandkids. Lucas will just have to work a little harder." My dad's eyes rolled back and he collapsed. My mom kept her composure by sheer willpower, patting my shoulder like nothing was wrong. "It's fine. As long as we get grandkids, I don't mind." I stood there in silence. Right. Now that my parents stopped pestering us about the marriage, I finally had room to breathe and focus on work. "When are you giving me GM's internal reports?" I didn't bother with small talk, I went straight for the kill. Herbert smiled lazily from the sofa, one leg crossed over the other. 7 days. "What do you mean, 7 days?" "I give you the files. You stay with me for 7 days. 7? As if I'd be able to walk after just 1. 3. I tried to bargain with the man who'd only recently discovered physical intimacy. He grinned. 3 it is. But I want a deep mark. That answer came way too fast. I clenched my jaw. Fine. A mark was just a mark. For those documents, I'd endure. Deal. Mark me however you want. But I expect accurate, verified data. I didn't believe it at first. He was just a mid-level employee. No way he had access to sensitive info. But a few days later, a mountain of files landed in front of me. Detailed financials, internal operations, past collaborations, everything. "How do you even have these?" Sure, I originally approached him for the intel, but now that he'd actually delivered, I found myself suspicious. "It's not classified," he said breezily. "Mostly legacy contracts and operational methods. Should be enough for your analysis." Then he pulled me up and pushed me toward the bedroom, arms wrapped tightly around me. 3 days, remember? I want my mark." His fingers were already loosening his tie. I kept backing away. "You're serious?" "I'm not ready." Too late. He caught me and threw me onto the bed. His voice was soft, lips brushing my neck. "I'm starving. I gave you what you wanted. Now give me what I want. That's fair, right?" My clothes were torn off before I could argue. My mind went blank the moment his scent flooded my brain. By the time I regained consciousness, he'd already sorted through more documents for me. I honestly admired his energy. He never seemed tired. "You use my strategy on GM, their loopholes will be exposed. Then we go after the clients they lost. With the Alexander name behind you, they'll crawl back." I skimmed through the new stack. Everything was airtight. He was good. Way better than I'd expected. "Who are you really? Don't tell me you're just a random employee." He smiled, eyes glinting. "From now on, I'm just your husband. And bad news. I'm unemployed. You'll have to support me." Ever since he declared himself unemployed, Herbert Wright never left my side. He hovered like a fly, always close, always affectionate. Every night, he tried to mark me again like it was his life's calling. My lower back constantly ached, but I still managed to curse him. "You damn freeloader. You lost your job just to sleep around? Go get hired." He pressed a kiss to my lips. "Correction, not sleep around. Sleep with you. Get lost." He laughed, already walking out. "Rest up. You've got work tomorrow. Bastard." I muttered the insult, not sure if he heard me. All he did was kiss the corner of my ear. Before I drifted off, one thought remained. He really liked kissing me. Thanks to Herbert's help, my career soared. Success naturally brought more business dinners, and he turned into my personal reminder app. "When will you be home? Late again today? Can you be back by 10? Or should I come pick you up?" Crying face. "Almost done," I replied. Just then, I looked up and caught a glimpse of someone. His back, his walk, it looked just like Herbert. I followed the figure while calling Herbert. "Hey, miss me already?" His voice came through the line, low and husky. The man I was tailing didn't even flinch. "You okay?" I asked, concerned. He sounded off. "I'm fine. Just thinking of you." "But what's up?" His tone was warm and casual. I laughed. "Nothing. Pocket dialed you by accident." I ended the call, puzzled. If that wasn't Herbert, who the hell was it? I followed the man to a private lounge and cracked the door open just a sliver. Inside I heard someone say, well, Herbert, didn't expect to see you tonight." "So? Thought about that deal?" Laughter. "What? The GM heir needs to pour drinks now just to land partnerships. Pathetic." My heart skipped. Jim heir? Then who the hell was Herbert Wright? "Rumor is, you cut your own brother's gland." Cold move, man. The words made my blood run cold. I was starting to piece it together. If Herbert was who I suspected, what was his real motive for getting close to me? Then, slam, the door flew open. Someone inside stared straight at me with a chilling grin. Well, look who we have here. A little eavesdropping kitten by the door. I was yanked inside in an instant. The room was packed with people. The air was thick with alpha pheromones, spiked with a note of hostility. They lounged on the sofas, some of them bloated, beer-bellied, eyes leering. Disgust hit me in waves. Where'd Herbert dig this one up? Not bad looking. Yeah, wonder what his pheromones taste like. Why don't you let us have a turn first? We can talk contracts tomorrow. The sleazy talk made my brows furrow. I turned, ready to walk away, but a hand clamped down on my shoulder. "Since you're already here, why not stay and entertain a few guests? We've had a long day." "Back off." I turned around and shoved him hard. I didn't want to get into it with them, but before I knew it, all the guys who'd been lounging on the sofas were closing in. "Get the rope. Tie him up." They came at me with ropes, flooding the room with alpha pheromones. I stayed relaxed. Thanks to Herbert Wright's mark, I could now withstand even an enigma's pheromonal pressure. It took some effort to knock them all down, but I managed. As I shoved the door open and walked out, I glanced at the man who looked just like Herbert Wright. Tisk, useless trash. Trying to mess with an alpha? These pigs didn't even know what they were playing with. It was late when I got home. The moment I stepped through the door, I was pulled into a crushing hug. Herbert Wright's face was flushed, his pheromones wild and uncontrolled. "Herbert? What's wrong?" I touched his forehead. It was burning hot. "Baby, I'm in heat." His voice was soft, lips brushing against mine. "Don't worry though. I'm gentle when I'm like this. I won't lose control." I gave a dry laugh. "I'm not scared. We've got suppressant meds. Did you take any?" He shook his head, frowning, pressing me against the wall. "No, I don't want the meds. I want you." He took a deep breath against my shirt and gagged. "Ugh, Lucas, why do you smell like another alpha?" He slumped in my arms, tugging at my clothes. "Take it off. Now." I sighed. He was clearly getting agitated. I took off my outer jacket to appease him. "All right, let's cool you down first." I led him into the bathroom. Honestly, I could use a shower too. But as soon as I undressed, he noticed the bruises and marks on my body. "Who did this to you?" His gaze locked on mine, intense and piercing. "I got in a fight. A group tried to mess with me, but I won." He scooped me up. "We're showering together. I'll get you clean." I don't remember much after that. The next thing I knew, I was being shaken awake by the shrill sound of my phone. Dozens of missed calls from my best friend, Mario Fraser. "Lucas, get over here. Your husband's going berserk at E-Bar. He's already taken out half the place." I shot upright in bed, heart racing. Herbert's heat hadn't even passed. And he was out there fighting? I rushed to the bar. The moment I arrived, I saw broken glass everywhere. Tables and chairs splintered, red wine soaking into the floor, and some of that red looked suspiciously like blood. Panic surged. I spun around and landed in a familiar embrace. "Baby, you're here," Herbert whispered. His breathing was ragged, heat waves rolling off him. His skin was burning, cheeks flushed. Mario gave me a covert signal, a quiet "neng" with his fingers. Your man's a beast, he whispered. 9 alphas. He went for their heads like a damn hammer. Then he gave me a proud thumbs up. I frantically looked Herbert over. Are you hurt? Anywhere? He grinned and leaned down. Let's go home. I'll strip and let you check. When the authorities saw that Herbert was an enigma, not only did they not arrest him, they politely escorted us back home. Being an enigma came with absolute privilege. But naturally, bashing 9 alphas in public got Herbert right trending within hours. And with that came his exposed identity. I wasn't surprised. But Mario Fraser? He nearly choked. Lucas, you married one of GM Corporation's key decision-makers. I rubbed my eyes and looked at Herbert, who was still half asleep beside me. You've got it wrong. My husband's been unemployed for a while now. Just then Herbert stirred. His heat had mostly passed. He sat up, blinking. Wait, you called me your husband? He looked genuinely thrilled. Completely missing the point. I didn't like secrets, especially between us. So I got straight to it. You have a twin brother, don't you? Got ousted after a power struggle? Am I just a pawn you picked to take revenge on GM? The pause. Then a slow nod. Half right. I wasn't angry. We both knew we were using each other. As long as I understood his purpose, that was enough. What exactly are you trying to get from me? No point dancing around it, I asked directly. If you're trying to bankrupt GM, I'll tell you right now, I don't have that kind of reach. Not that. I need 3% of GM's shares. With that, I can claim what's rightfully mine. Straight to the point. Done. I'll help you get those 3%. That was manageable. He nodded, then added, also, marrying you wasn't part of the plan. That was real. I wanted to marry you. It sounded heartfelt. But I couldn't bring myself to believe it. Love, when layered under so much strategy, is always suspicious. Though it stung a little. Thanks to the fallout from Herbert's incident, GM came under intense public scrutiny. That made it much easier for me to make moves, and not just me. Other corporate sharks were circling too. GM was in crisis. I met with GM's acting executive, Constance Wright, shortly after I'd successfully poached several of their top clients and key employees. Lucas, must you target me so aggressively? We're all just trying to make money. Across the table, Constance had visible bruises on his face and a bandage wrapped around his head. Clearly Herbert's work. He tried a smile. Didn't know it was you that day. See? Got my ass handed to me. He pointed at the bandage like it was a badge of honor. I wasn't in the mood to humor him. I want a 3% share transfer. Put it on the table, and I'll ease off GM. I might even throw in some investments to help you survive the storm. I placed the pre-prepared contract right in front of him. Lucas, he said, pen in hand, are you married? Ever thought about divorce? Then he signed the papers and pushed them toward me. Trying to cozy up, he added, I've got a sister. Unmarried. Top tier Omega. Perfect for you. Too bad. I'm married. And I'm staying that way. I picked up the documents to leave, but he pressed his hand down on them. You married Herbert Wright? All this for him? You love him that much? I met his stare with a cold smile. What? Scared now? You didn't flinch when you destroyed his gland. Did you really think he wouldn't come back for what's his? He leaned back in the chair and said, let me clarify, I'm not the one who ruined his gland. That was our father's doing. It sounded like an explanation, like he wanted me to understand. But I didn't listen. I picked up the contract and walked out. Behind me, Constance Wright chuckled. He doesn't love you, you know. His room? Covered in photos of the person he's actually in love with. Lucas, don't be the fool who gives their heart away for nothing. My steps faltered. Herbert Wright, like someone else? I didn't let it show in front of Constance. But once I was outside, the panic set in. I opened my phone, typed a message. Do you like me? Then I deleted it. I sighed, frustrated with my own cowardice, and wrote something else instead. Herbert Wright, how did your gland get destroyed? I didn't dare call him. I just sent the message and shut off my phone. I'd never asked before. Always figured it was his own business. But now, I needed to know. I wanted to know. Hours passed. When I finally turned my phone back on, there was a reply waiting. It's a long story. If you want to hear it, I'll tell you tonight. Okay. That was all I wrote. Just one word. I slapped the share agreement on the table in front of him, along with the signed contract transferring 3% of the GM shares to his name. Congrats. You're going back to GM. We pulled it off. Technically, the board hadn't approved anything yet. But now, with my share included, he was the largest shareholder. He picked up the documents, then pulled me into his arms. Why the long face? I hesitated. Constance's words were still lodged in my mind like splinters. But I kept my tone light. Didn't you say you'd tell me about your gland? I'm listening. Destroying an enigma's gland wasn't something that could happen easily. I wasn't raised in the right household, he began. I was handed off to my uncle when I was a kid. He looked at me while he spoke, voice calm, eyes distant. I didn't even know I was part of a powerful family. My uncle was broke. The beta. I went to university in Melbourne. Melbourne? My scalp tingled. That's where I went to university too. I'd chosen it just to rebel against my family, choosing the farthest school possible. And if I remembered right, there was only one major university in Melbourne. He and I went to the same school? Why hadn't I ever seen him? Herbert smiled faintly. You were famous. People wrote about you on the confession board all the time. I gave a dry laugh. Yeah, all my name, but no actual relationships. Everyone assumed I had someone, but in reality, no admirers. No partners. Still doesn't explain your gland, I said, changing the subject. His eyes dimmed a little. Back then, would you have liked a poor boy? Of course not, I answered without hesitation. He looked away, defeated. Exactly. That's why I wanted to chain you down after graduation. I rolled my eyes. Can we not make this romantic and just stick to the facts? He lowered his gaze. After I graduated, my uncle got into a car accident. Hurt his leg. He brought me back to the right family. But the family refused to acknowledge me. To clear the way for Constance, they decided to destroy my gland and offered 30% of the company in compensation. As he spoke, he picked up the contract, 3% scrawled in bold black print. I agreed. And I did it myself. I froze. He did it himself? Herbert Wright was more ruthless than I thought. My uncle held 17% of the shares. I used my own methods to transfer them to me. Another shock. In just a few sentences, he'd redrawn the entire portrait of who he was. I do whatever it takes to get what I want, he said, voice steady, eyes unreadable. My heart pounded. We both knew this was mutual exploitation from the start. That much was clear. Constance said you have someone you're secretly in love with. That your room is full of their photos. I hadn't wanted to ask. But the words came out anyway. His eyes widened slightly, then trembled as if he were afraid. You think I'm some psycho, don't you? Who the hell fills a room with photos? Only a lunatic would do that. So he did like someone. I drew in a breath. Do you want a divorce? I looked him in the eye. You marked me to use me, right? It was just to make sure I stayed useful to you. No, he said immediately, brows furrowing. But I wasn't listening anymore. We've gotten what we wanted from each other. Let's end this. I stood to leave, but he grabbed my wrist. You think I'm insane, don't you? Before I could respond, he pinned me down on the couch. You do. That's what you think. Herbert was unraveling. He held me down, hands at my clothes, tearing at the fabric. I fought back hard and slapped him across the face. Wake up. He froze, stunned. But his eyes darkened even further. Then, he bit down on my gland hard, like he was trying to stake a claim that wouldn't fade. Afterward, I lay there aching, trying to keep my voice steady. Let's just get divorced. You love someone else. You've already got your person. The second I said divorce, the air changed. Enigma pheromones exploded through the room like smoke, thick and suffocating. I tried to stand, but my limbs gave out. I collapsed beside the bed. He walked over, crouched down in front of me, and smiled like nothing was wrong. Anything but divorce. I'll agree to everything else. You said we'd get married and then divorce. But that decision isn't just yours anymore. His fingers stroked through my hair, then paused at my lips. His eyes were both affectionate and menacing. It was terrifying. What if I just keep you locked up? He murmured. Would you stay mad at me forever? He lifted me into his arms and laid me gently on the bed. But the pheromones were too strong. They triggered my alpha susceptibility, and suddenly I was entering a heat cycle. Alpha heat made it impossible to think straight. I was shaking, drenched in sweat, grabbing onto his shoulders. Medicine, I gasped. I need a suppressant. But instead of helping, Herbert tied my hands. He leaned down, voice soft as silk. What medicine? I am your medicine. And you're mine. We can't live without each other. Say it. Say you want me. He pinned my throat gently, but firmly. I couldn't think anymore. Words spilled out of me that I couldn't remember later. I think I told him I loved him. I think I said I couldn't live without him. When I came to, my legs hurt like hell. My knees were even worse. I glanced down. They were completely bruised purple. You've already been treated. But you'll still need to rest for a while, Herbert Wright said as he stepped out of the bathroom, fresh from a shower. I looked at him once, then turned away with a scowl. I didn't even want to see him. Absolute animal, I muttered. I couldn't think of a better word for him than that. He didn't deny it. Yeah. A bit of a beast. I've wanted to do that for a long time. He wasn't even pretending to be ashamed. I've liked you since college. Had your photos all over my room. That made my eyes fly open. I turned to look at him. I never dared confess. You were Lucas. And I was just a broke nobody. But then, you posted that ad. I've been following you ever since. His confession was deep, almost romantic. But I couldn't believe it. My voice came out rough, cracked. Proof. I want proof you liked me. He nodded. Once you're better, I'll take you somewhere. He took me back to Melbourne. The apartment he'd rented during university, he still had the lease. He never moved out. It was small but spotless. I never imagined that someone like Herbert Wright, a powerful, flawless enigma, had once lived a life like this. You went through your secondary differentiation alone? I asked quietly. They say when alphas evolve into enigmas, the pain is unbearable. He suddenly pounced, grabbing my wrist and pinning me to the tiny bed barely big enough for one. His breath brushed against my lips, his gaze wild. During my differentiation, all I could think about was you. I took a secret photo of you, he admitted softly. Had a custom doll made to look just like you. His voice was so calm. My ears went beet red. You are insane, Herbert Wright, I muttered through gritted teeth. But before I could finish the insult, he kissed me hard. He was already unbuttoning my shirt with practiced ease. I told you back in college I wanted to lock you up, he said, staring down at my unfastened collar. Too bad you were always surrounded by perfect alphas. I met his gaze and teased, if you'd confessed, maybe I would have said yes. His eyes darkened with something intense. God, I regret not stealing you away years ago. He said it like a joke. I lay in that tiny room, staring at the photos of me taped up on the walls, hidden angles, distant shots. He followed me, all through college. You're a total psycho, I whispered. I meant it. A few years ago, I would have run screaming. But now, this same man was gentle, attentive, stunning, all pros, no cons, possessive. Also was that, didn't sound like a problem to me. I flipped us over, pinning him beneath me. How much do you love me? I murmured. Show me. Herbert eventually returned to GM, and with my help, he took his rightful place at the top. Herbert Wright, I asked him one day, when we got married so suddenly, was it really because you'd been in love with me all this time? He nodded. Yes. It was love at first sight. He pressed a kiss to my hair, nuzzling my neck gently. Loved you so much, it turned me into an enigma. I wrapped my arms around him, satisfied. I sent out the invitations. Want to get married again? Properly this time? But this time, you propose. I kissed his neck lightly. He gave me a look that turned almost feral, and I immediately pushed him away. Calm down. I tried to sound stern, but he caught my wrist again. His voice dipped into a husky whisper, kissing me again. When's your next heat? I want to see you on your knees. I rolled my eyes and smacked his shoulder. Neither of us had any real experience with weddings, but Herbert insisted that a real wedding had to be public, known by everyone. So we threw a massive, citywide spectacle. I stood in the blazing sun for 3 whole days, practically melting by the time it was over. Next time we get married, I'm picking a night ceremony, I muttered as I collapsed onto the bed. But Herbert, of course, wasn't tired. Not at all. After sending off the guests, he dragged me into the shower. Today's our first night as husbands. Shouldn't we stay up all night? He kissed me against the tile wall. I wanted to be a sensible alpha. I'm exhausted, I groaned. Then everything went dark. I passed out in his arms. Epilogue. Lucas Alexander, I got married. To a trash alpha. My best friend, Mario Fraser, sent the message with a wedding photo attached. The guy in the photo was hot. Like, suspiciously hot for someone labeled trash. You sure he's a trash alpha? I replied, skeptical. Got him tested. No pheromones. Definitely more dependable than your guy. Herbert leaned over, glancing at the photo. He raised an eyebrow. Well, isn't that Edward Rutherford? When did he get married? I stared at the man next to Mario. Edward Rutherford? The researcher? The one studying alpha pheromone modification? He's a trash alpha? Herbert nodded. Trash? You sure? The guy whose pheromones can knock omegas unconscious on the spot? That's what we're calling trash now. My heart sank. I sucked in a sharp breath and started texting. Mario, your husband might be a problem. Run. After a long pause, I got a reply. Too late. He's asleep. Sleeping face. I stared at the screen. We're doomed. Flash marriages were risky. But if your gamble pays off with a rich, hot alpha, well, maybe the risk's worth it. I bet everything. And I hit the jackpot. The end.
Thanks for stopping by. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any new videos.